Well, the time has started.
All right.
Again, I usually give it another 2 minutes for anyone to... But it doesn't matter, this live stream is being documented and going to be saved anyway, so whatever we talk about will be salvaged.
I'm just going to finish my sandwich.
No, I'm just going to finish this. I haven't had one of these in a while, to be honest. Remember the first having them in, like, 2009?
Yeah.
Didn't have them very much, to be honest. Class earlier on, I was quite on the roll of the... oh, hang on, Will's just showed up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Let's just finish this off and get straight to the point. Oh, and just a disclaimer, this is not about a CGT or anything like that. It's something a bit more important, maybe. They never used to say peppermint on them. They just... Did they? I don't know. Well, I've been apart from these for so long, really. That's all I could say.
I just got myself a Kit Kat Chunky.
Okay. What kind is it?
Just a regular.
Ah. Also, how do you like the new background?
Looks good.
I mean, do you kind of recognise it by any chance? I mean, as in any other circumstance other than you already know what it looks like?
Well, it reminds me of somewhere. I'm trying to think where.
Well, let's just put it this way. I've been there myself in person.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Got the slightest clue of where it actually is.
To be honest, I wouldn't know.
Well, yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, you don't recognise it, do you?
No, not at all.
Well, doesn't matter though. It's being used as a showcase ground now. Although I said I would make it as early as 2022, and I only just got around to it.
Ah, fair enough. And so I think I should just get down to the point. I mean, if you notice on the title, I think you might know what it's about, if anything.
Yeah, I've got.
Well, it's something I would have. Well, I never came forward about the actual reasons why, but now that this happened, I just went, fuck it, I'm exposing it once and for all, in my point of view. I mean, even if I was already aware of the signs as early as, I don't know, 2021. You know, I wouldn't normally come forward about things like this, you know. Because, you know, as early as 2021, I already knew why I didn't want to be a celebrity of some kind. It already looked quite brutal.
Yeah.
But let's just say Liam Payne's death has really got the attention. Whether some people saw it coming or not.
What's that you got there?
Diet Coke.
Artificial?
Someone's deaf, did you say?
Who's deaf?
Wait, hang on. Sorry, have I misheard something? Like
Possibly. If it was on here, then yes,
on here, yeah.
you have.
Yeah, I don't know what. I probably misheard what you said then. I don't really know what it was you said, but
I don't know. You can just watch the live stream back if you understand it correctly.
yeah, I'll look back on it.
You mind?
Sorry.
I wonder if the funerals actually took place yet. Because from what I know, it probably hasn't even reached the UK yet.
What has reached the UK yet?
Oh, I don't know. Like, I keep hearing on the news that Liam's body is still within South America. It hasn't been transferred to the UK yet. I don't know. There's loads of things about it. Some of it might be real, some of it might not be. Others are just theories.
Yeah.
I guess it's the only time I don't necessarily draw the line at the sun. But even still, I wouldn't recommend reading it as it is. Under this circumstance, I don't think it really matters.
Is my microphone any better now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Cool. Yeah, I had it on the wrong mic. I was like, it was on the camera mic.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should react to a few videos at this point. I guess at this point you can briefly react to them as well. Not that you need to, but just yeah. If I'm right, I should be able to. I wonder what that does. See anything now?
Yep, I see it.
Oh yeah, I think at this point I should probably actually no, I'll do that later. What did I miss? I don't think I've seen this one before.
The ultimate Korean barbecue chicken.
Closer look at the final days of One Direction star Liam Payne. Nightline anchor Juju Chang is here. I know you've been following this so closely, Juju.
We sure have. You know, the thing is, those final days for Liam Payne were all spent inside the hotel in Argentina.
Yeah,
investigators are now questioning hotel workers and witnesses who say they saw him acting erratically in the
hours.
Yeah,
we all know that.
The question now is,
anyway.
Did the drugs found in his system affect his mood or his state of mind?
Definitely, yes.
This morning, Argentinian officials raiding the hotel where former One Direction member Liam Payne died as part of an ongoing investigation into the circumstances of the singer's death. Payne, who traveled to Argentina after his son's death, spotted on the balcony of the hotel room where his son had been. The prosecutor's office saying he expressed his willingness to testify about everything he knows about his son's life that could help the investigation.
Come on, we already know quite a lot about it as it is.
As the probe into Payne's death unfolds, the prosecutor's office
we figured it out.
The body to his family until an autopsy test and results are complete. This, as Payne's girlfriend, Kate Cassidy, penned an emotional tribute saying that just a few weeks ago, he wrote a note to her that said, "Me and Kate to marry within a year. / engaged and together forever 444. His death calling to question, what is the price of fame?
He wanted to be a singer.
Oh, God.
He didn't talk about fame to me. He talked about wanting to be a singer.
Mary Byrne, a classical singer, competed against One Direction on the X Factor.
That was when I ruled the world. The love she showed for every one of his roommates that we were all together.
Maybe anyone's seen this
would
one in
always stick
ages.
in my mind.
But life after One Direction turned the spotlight toxic for Payne. A trashed hotel room,
Yes.
drug paraphernalia, the disturbing autopsy results. State police say these are all.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm surprised the circumstances didn't happen as early as 2015. Or before, rather. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to bring up here. Look at look at, say, for instance, Chester Bennington, the singer of Linkin Park. Look at
I've
the
never heard that, to be
circumstances
honest.
into his death. It's kind of a similar thing. I think these people, they get into the spotlight, they start taking up drugs and stuff like that, and it ends up killing them.
Well, I guess you could say only because these drugs actually exist, which they probably shouldn't.
Oh, that's the thing, I guess. It's just there's a lot.
Yeah. Some say that the drugs are what's caused his death, but I put that the last thing that probably caused his death. Hence, it really was the last thing.
I mean, thinking about the circumstances, there's more things to look at there. Like, well, if it's easy enough to fall over that balcony, then how well are them balconies actually secured off? Because
that is a good point there.
Because obviously,
that's a rather good question.
There is a minimum requirement, really, for how on high-rise buildings there is a requirement for how.
And again, it was only
tall
3
the
floors
barriers
up.
are.
I mean, can you imagine if it was on the rooftops in a building in Tower Hamlets? Because that would have been, well, same result, but we're talking a lot higher buildings,
Yeah.
And with a bit less support. I should
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I think balconies, in all fairness, I think they should have something like nets or something over them.
Yeah, that would work,
Not just barriers, because I think we look at and there's been numerous cases in the past of people falling off balconies, and there's a lot
either by accident or
accident or on purpose. And I mean,
I guess
either
by
way,
accident isn't exactly good, is it?
no, and I mean, it shows really, I mean, either on purpose or accidental, it shows really how problems can arise if the buildings are not properly secured off. And we can say same things for abandoned buildings. Abandoned buildings, when they're just left, they are a huge hazard. Look at Rylands in Wigan. I mean, I've seen Rylands before many times, and you can see the building now, luckily, has been started to be secured. I've noticed there is now a few armadillos around the site, and there is
those things aggressive.
Not the animals.
I mean the actual security things.
The armadillos. I mean, in a way, they're all right, but I think they could be better. I mean, they take a picture of you, they flash some lights, and they shout at you. That's mostly what they do. I mean,
yeah, I think I'd rather face the animal, to be honest.
I
think I'd rather face any animal, even a lion, than a human being.
Well, I mean, on the abandoned sites, I mean,
can you imagine if wild animals like lions became security guards? Can you imagine them being any more aggressive?
Yeah, I don't think there'd be much difference.
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, they'd probably be a lot less aggressive, really.
If you look at Rylands, I think it was in 2016. There was a photograph taken at the main chimney, which is many stories high. It's definitely an interesting one, and the problem I've found with Rylands, especially, is that chimney was not secure for many times until that incident when there was photographed about 10 kids dangling off the edge of the chimney, and that's when I think they bricked it up inside. So you could not
actually felt it, did they?
I do believe there has been a couple deaths at Rylands.
Right. But then again, I never would have tried that anyway.
It's been on fire multiple times as well. I mean, I know when I was last there, it was an old Protec system.
Wait a minute. What did you say it was again?
Rylands.
What kind of building is it?
It was originally a mill at one point, and then the college. and then the college bought it, and that was the I think that was it was so it was originally a cotton mill, I think, if I remember correctly, and then it changed to be under it was a warehouse then for this company that was like for catalogs and stuff, and then the college bought the building, and then due to safety concerns with asbestos,
Of course, it's asbestos. It's always asbestos.
in about 2002, they were doing asbestos removal on the site, and they never completed it. They built the new college building, and they never completed the asbestos removal. So the building was left abandoned, and then it was bought by some other company of some sort, and they just left it. But the thing is, it was never secured, and I mean, you could just literally walk into the building at the back of Wigan Park. I mean, I'll admit, done it a couple of times, and it realistically they haven't.
Well, at least you're sensible.
Yeah, they haven't secured it enough, and it went on fire multiple times. I mean, there was one fire which lasted for over 3 days, and that was the worst one that caused most of the buildings to collapse.
Like that fire in Australia back in 2020. Forest fire, I remember that.
Yeah, sort of.
Because that went on for quite some time, and it covered quite a lot of distance.
Yeah. So there's it's quite the I mean, it's quite the subject to be held is abandoned building sites, but any sort of building, there should be a lot more protection on them. And I mean, we can look at, I mean, for instance, this isn't more life safety as in hazards for people falling off stuff, people having stuff collapse and stuff. This is more any sort of safety concerns. Look at Grenfell. I mean, yeah, the building concerns there, using flammable cladding. Buildings should, I think I've said it before, buildings should be much more high tolerance.
Well, cheap things should be an option, like cheap cladding, cheap flammable cladding. They shouldn't be an option, so why are they still an option?
Yeah.
Grenfell Tower is just a joke.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's why I said as early as 2017. It just didn't seem realistic.
Well, when it comes to Grenfell, that was the main push, I think, for CTEC Hush coming in, and now the more the later version of CTEC Evacuate.
But surely that sort of place would have been dead required to have a fire system anyway. Like, it's big in a shopping centre. It should be dead required.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it was a bit.
We both know it had ACO, and that's all it had, and that wasn't.
Yeah, it's been a big. I think apartments/flats have been a big grey area for that for many years.
Well, that's because it's in London. I mean, you don't know what London's like.
Well, even over here, there's a block of flats just across the road from me, and I remember when I used to be in there because my dad used to have a flat in there. That was just a Fire Angel battery-powered smoke alarm, and then there was
that's even worse.
And then there was a communal fire system in the corridors, which was an advanced MX Pro 4.
Yeah, I guess that's all right.
And that's what a lot of the tower blocks and stuff were. And then it's now that we're kind of bringing up more stuff like we've got different.
Well, producing something like CTEC Hush Active was the right thing to do.
Well, Hush Active was not aimed at tower blocks. It was aimed at houses. It was aimed at
exactly.
houses.
That's my point.
As an alternative, as a grade C alternative to a grade D system. And
the whole point is it's to replace ACO.
We fit ACO on most sites. I mean, I can tell you, me and a couple other engineers, we've fitted multiple ACO units and linked in with ACO SmartLink and RadioLink, and we've never had a problem with that. But I think
I still think grade D doesn't really apply.
Yeah, on a bigger site like a larger house, that's where we'd start going into something like a grade C or even more onto the side
Yeah,
of,
well, I've seen larger houses still with acre and stuff. which-
depending on the size of the house, that's when we might start up and get to something like an actual CTEC CFP.
Well, yeah, that would
So
be
something
that
like
would be
follow
better.
alarm sense. So something like alarm sense, or as we've used on a couple houses, Fike Twinflex Pro.
Don't know
Um,
about that really.
So there's a lot of stuff on that.
This is the usual thing. We tend to. This is when we're in a conversation. We tend to switch subjects from one thing to another, and then the next
Well,
minute
it
another thing.
all blends in with the same
But,
subject
yeah.
of the safety in the buildings. I mean,
But I guess that's what makes it interesting.
yeah, it all blends in with the building safety because there's a lot of different regs. You've got this was something that's infuriated me and quite a few other engineers. Is now we have to pay £400 now to do a course just so we can fit extractor fans in houses.
Why?
It's because of this new standard that's been passed, and it was kind of rushed in because this 2-year-old lad died in an house because from a respiratory condition that was caused from black mold because the ventilation in the house was not adequate. Now, I agree. I think stuff like these cheap Manrose fans, these should not be fitted on ducted runs. You should not fit one of these on a
Well, if they're
ducted
no
run.
good, they probably shouldn't be an option at all then.
Well, they are good. It's just for the right circumstance. If you've got a pipe in a wall going straight through the wall and out, this is an ideal fan to use. But I would use something more like an Envirovent or a Ventaxia.
What about Vortis?
Not really. I wouldn't use Vortis. Vortis are better for the commercial market. Their residential fans they're not great.
Even the one I have.
That's an old one. That's like 1980s Vortis. That
You
one.
told me it was 1990s.
19. Yeah, I think your one's probably more around 1990s because it's got black blades. If it was 1980s, it would probably be grey.
You sure black is really the best way to put it?
Yeah.
But the external housing is grey, and then cream and stuff.
Yeah, but still, I mean, there's building safety. I think just the whole thing about the balcony barriers and stuff is just one of the things. That's just one of the things.
Balconies. I mean, yeah, for higher premises, maybe they should be, sorted out with netting.
100%. 100%.
I think as early as 2013, I looked at some of the high-rise flats in East London. I mean, the balconies didn't really have much protection. They were 12 stories high?
Yeah. If I go on to...
Just look kind of awkward, really. Maybe you feel a bit uncomfortable just looking at them.
If I go on here, you can see this is something...
Yeah, that would work.
That is the type
I don't see it very much.
You don't. And I mean, most places don't use it because it's like, oh, but it's ugly and it doesn't... It blocks your view. But, I mean, when it comes to
What do you mean it's
safety...
ugly? Who cares about that? You can still see outside, couldn't you?
I was just going to say,
that
you can still see through it. So, what's the problem?
That would have perfectly stopped it. But the thing is, if we look at Liam's death, that shows really these barriers here were clearly. If that was,
those barriers are very, very low profile.
If it's under the circumstance that he's fell over them, then that means that
whether it was intentional or not, it could have happened anyway.
Yeah, I mean.
Although obviously, at first, I instantly came to a conclusion that it was intentional. It made sense, that was the first time I heard about it. I concluded it intentional.
Yeah, I mean,
But even still, under the circumstances of drugs, that would make it probably both of those things at once. And
For
that's probably
me,
the
I think
case.
I've never really been wanting to be in the massive spotlight of like major news outlets. I mean,
Yeah, it just ruins your life.
I've had
In any circumstance.
I've had
really.
an offer. I've had an offer to
Yeah, we'll decline it or
to get me
well, it depends what kind of fame
get
it
me-
is, though.
to
It
get me into a
varies.
newspaper, but I've just been like,
A newspaper is okay, I guess.
I don't want to be on a newspaper. I mean, I've had articles written up about me in the PSI magazine. I've had them done by Skills for Security.
As long as they're not writing propaganda about you. I mean, don't let the Sun or the Mirror do anything like that to you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we've got the news outlets do stretch the truth quite a bit, but I've never wanted to be in the major spotlight. I think it's just it just becomes a bit because it's one of those you don't want to. I don't want to walk out in the street and just be like, "Hey, I recognize you. Where are you from?" And it's just like, yeah, I don't want that. And I think fame does interesting things to people. Like if you look at and I mean, so does money as well. Money changes people quite a lot. I mean, you see some people which can be quite shy, quite laid back, and then just have a nice little group of friends. And if they get like a lump sum of money, usually they will start to be a little more outgoing. Sometimes they it might seem a little more like they might find new groups of friends with more wealthy people like themselves, and it can really, I think, fame.
Well, if that happened to me, I wouldn't really want to change much about it.
No,
I wouldn't ditch the people I already have.
For
people who might not be as worth, interacting with,
100%.
I certainly wouldn't want to leave anyone who's easily trustworthy and, clearly care about me.
I mean, when it comes to the alarm community anyway, that's just a toxic mess of everything. But,
Tell me about it. I've experienced it in the past.
Same here. I mean, it's one of those...
What do you know about it, though? You're a lot younger than me.
Trust me, I've been in the community since I was about 9, and I know realistically
what year was that? Was that like...
2018?
Still feels like yesterday, to be honest. 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
Well, for me, we're talking at least 2015.
Yeah. I mean, when I first joined the community, it was quite a small group of people that I was with, and I still speak to them and kind of still do stuff, but a lot of them people now they're not really into the stuff anymore. They've kind of, it was one of those, they were into alarms at the time and stuff like that, but now they've kind of changed on to move into interests in other fields, and fair enough. But for me, I mean, I've been in multiple different of the communities, especially, I think the worst one was the security communities. The security communities, I think, is the more toxic end of it. The fire community, really, the only toxic bit about the fire community is really that people will just be slagging each other off for the brands they like. We're in the security community. Everybody's just going behind people's backs, talking crap about them, and it really is not a great industry to say, not a great community. But I mean, I think the most chill community I've found really is, realistically, I'd say the most chill community I've found is the railway community. I mean, on a lot of the people in the railway community I've spoken to are actually, they're not too bad, and it seems quite...
Yeah, they tend to be a bit better.
Yeah,
I've noticed.
People seem to just get along well on that.
I mean, there are some questionable individuals in the railway in the railway community, which I'm not going to name, but
definitely.
We can name if you want to. I don't mind.
Well,
yeah, I can think of a couple.
Yes, so can I. But I've never actually interacted with them. But yeah,
I'm not going to name them just in case, like, if they happen to see this stream,
Yeah, well, they're not going to
road.
want to find this video. It's off subject, or mainly supposed to be off subject. For
Well.
that. They're not going to want to find it. Besides, I don't think the following people would have actually wanted to look at my channel anyway.
I mean, if we, I mean, I'm kind of, when it comes to the topic of fame, I mean, there's definitely a lot behind it, but I find definitely I've seen it. It does influence some pretty bad things, and I mean, some people abuse the fame a little bit too much because they think like they kind of get a sense that they're invincible because they're
I'd
loved
say it's
by
under
many.
the circumstances. You're obviously a lot younger than this as well. That's probably when you get drawn into it.
Yeah.
Because think about it, Liam Payne started at, well, actually 40 when it comes to, if you include 2008 X Factor, but 16 for 2010.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those are very similar.
I think the music industry really is the one.
I'd say Psycho in particular is the worst by far, and we all know why. This is now the best example.
I think the music industry really, in general, is a bit of a bad thing because I think the main labels and stuff they take people that are like starting out musicians and kind of screw them over a little bit. And I think
they reduce creativity out of their own.
Yeah, because the labels, they'll make you put out what they want you to put out, not what you want to put out.
Exactly. That's they're turning you into someone you're not really.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't personally,
and forcing it on you entirely, like it's the only option.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
And that's like something that I don't. That's something I don't personally agree with when like people try to make you something that you're not. Because like, if I was in that situation, then I wouldn't be very happy about that.
No, I mean, everybody has their kind of gig, and it's like
everybody's different.
It's like trying to get. It's like labels will just see something that they will get an idea, and they're just like, yeah, we want you to create this track, and then we're gonna get you to release that. This will be like a massive hit, but
in their point of view, that is.
In their point of view, and I mean that's the thing. I think that's why I'd say artists, yeah, they do struggle. I think they would struggle to get out into the world if they didn't sign a label, but the labels are a bit corrupt.
Well, I figured they'd be contracts, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to it.
Well, there really is a lot to it, you know. There's a lot I know about it as well, and everything is all prior. I didn't really find much more information after this.
I suppose, like when you think about it as well, labels don't just apply to the music industry. They could apply to literally. They could apply pretty much anywhere when you think about it. Like regardless of whether it's
Well, I think when it comes to fame, any circumstance like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at brand deals as well, brand deals with like companies being endorsed by big celebrities and stuff.
Well, like Tesco.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, at least Tesco don't entirely do the wrong thing. At least they transport their freight by rail sometimes, and that they use electric locomotives still because DRS still have them. But even still, that's probably the only good thing I can think about Tesco at the moment.
What, besides the fire alarm systems?
I don't know. Sainsbury's is better in terms of that circumstance than Tesco. I'd say the only reason I'd be able to picture rare things is because of asbestos, and then they've left them in place.
Yeah.
And moved them somewhere else, you know?
I mean, I've I think the rarest system I think I've taken out was probably the Protec TS86 system. Probably the rarest one that we've taken out, but that one had, over the years, luckily had been properly maintained. So devices had been swapped out. So a lot of devices had been swapped. So detectors had been properly maintained. So it had a load of 2KC detectors that, and those 2KCs, quite a few of them had been swapped out for the ones that came after the flatter variants.
What, the Sensitech? Or Evolution?
No, not the ones just before those.
Oh yeah, those ones. Yeah, I forgot about them.
Yeah.
Do you think they're near the same age as the 2KCs?
Yeah. So.
Well, Nissan claimed they came out in 1990.
What, the 2KC?
No, the next one up, the flatter ones.
Yeah, that is about right.
I mean, I think the 2KCs were 1985 or something like that, but I'm convinced they're a bit older.
I don't know. These ones were dated 1984.
Really? What, the 2KCs?
The 2KCs, yeah.
And then again, the older ones do use the same base.
There was loads of Chloride branded Apollo Series 60s.
On the same system?
On the same system. And the call points were mostly oops, my camera just completely blocked. There we are.
Yeah.
It was these Series 2s branded by Protec. And then there was quite a few of them which had the glass replaced by Colemane. And there was a couple of them which were branded as Shorrock as well.
Well, you have Shorrock glass now?
Yeah, I've got loads of Shorrock glass because we replaced the Shorrock system.
Did you? Kind. It wasn't Zeiss, was it?
No, it was not. It was conventional. It was running a C-Tech MFP 24 zone.
Are they branded Shorrock?
No, it had an initial sticker on it.
Just a sticker?
Just a sticker.
Okay.
But for
yeah. Okay.
I mean, so yeah. What do you want to? What are we gonna go on about now?
Well, I don't know, just furthermore.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's weird is, or what's weirder is my overall reaction to finding it on Facebook, literally 2 hours after it actually happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what's also weird is on times like these, under these circumstances, I tend to remember exactly what I was doing on that particular day.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you exactly what I was doing on that day. I mean, it was more, like practical than some others in between.
I was.
It was the 16th of October. That's what it was. What were you doing then? Do you know?
I was on top of a lift when I found out.
And your company?
Yeah, I was on top of a lift. We were putting in anti-surf.
Does that hint the background you see right here?
Wait, wrong way.
You probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. It's just but yeah, so do quite a lot of stuff though. I mean, I personally, the stuff I more work around the most is intercoms, video intercoms. That's where the money is at. Really, is CCTV and intercoms. That's where you get money.
Sure.
I mean, fire system servicing is dull as anything. I mean, it's just all we have to do really is just carry around a can of
That
this
seems
stuff,
alright.
a can of that stuff, and then just when we're testing the system, just kind of give it a spray,
Right.
and then it activates and stuff like that. And it's dull.
And what, on the 16th of October, you were surfing a lift under that circumstance?
Yeah, it was anti-surf connected in. So the anti-surf, it was beam sensors going across the top of the lift, and pretty much there was 3 of them interconnected in a row, and
Well,
they
do
were
all this have this anti-surfing fitted?
Unfortunately, not all of them, but most of them do. And
Is it just modernised lifts?
no, I mean, I've seen anti-surf be retrofitted onto old lifts, like really old lifts, but usually they're on
like what? Express or Evans or
What exactly is anti-surf?
So,
how does it work?
So anti-surf can come in a couple variants. One of the variants is a pressure plate, so when you step on top of the lift, it will use a SIM card inside the anti-surf box to dial out to a monitoring center.
Right.
They can also use passive infrared sensors like this one here. This one here is a Paradox.
I see it's a bit of white plastic.
Yeah, it's a Paradox sensor, this one. Or is it? No, that's an old Pyronics. It looks like Paradox. And yeah, they've anti-surf comes with either you can have motion sensors or beam sensors, which is the most common ones, and you'll have three or four of them in a row on the lift, and they are infrared lasers that will shine across to a sensor. When you break that, it'll open a contact. It can trigger either a dialer on top of the lift, dial out to a monitoring center. It can also be connected to something like an intruder alarm panel, and that can dial out utilizing something like this here.
Yeah,
this is that's a WebWay 1.
So you can connect one of those to an anti-surfing.
Yep. So you can use a WebWay 1 like this one, or
Sounds both practical and a bit aggressive.
Well, it's obviously stops people getting hurt, really, because lifts are a dangerous bit of machinery.
Yeah, they're just as dangerous as the people that will catch lift surfers.
I mean, realistically, I mean, it's illegal to do it without proper unless you've been called out to a site where you need to fit a detector at the top of a shaft or all of that. That would be authorized lift surfing, but if you're unauthorized, then realistically it is illegal.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was the case in 2021, but sure.
It's illegal. It's been illegal for.
Wait, hang on, what were you doing in the lift shaft at that point? Were you testing a smoke detector?
No, installing beam sensors for anti-surf.
Oh, for lifts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me have a see. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it is illegal. I'm not sure. I'm just checking that now.
Probably going to find it might not be, I don't
know. Actually, I think it would also fall under trespass, though, as well. So
here we go again. Trespass. All that bullshit.
I mean, in all fairness, I mean, you've got. It is a stupid idea anyway to surf a lift, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe.
I mean, we've got There's been a couple deaths caused by people surfing lifts.
Well, it wasn't under the circumstances that they actually knew what they were doing, though, was it? Like, you know.
I mean, even qualified technicians have been killed, though, on top of lifts.
Yeah, but has anyone died under, you know, being controlled by Benno?
Probably not. I don't know.
What I know, probably not.
I mean, if we look at a lot of things as well, I mean, one thing I find is that a lot of stuff that happens, like, for instance, I've seen like a lot of, especially like I've seen like big car accidents. A lot of the time, they do not make it onto the actual news and get much publicity. You'll see some post. So. You'll see some post about it on Facebook, but usually there's not much on them. Like, which isn't a thing, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, well, they happen too often. That's probably why.
Yeah. Will, have you got anything you want to add to this?
To add to what?
Oh, any subjects that we just mentioned.
I don't really have anything. I've nothing on my mind at the moment. That I can think of.
I mean, I think this live stream, I think it's mostly just been on the topic of safety, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, you could say that. I think under the circumstances of being celebrity, safety is compromised as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know what happened, right?
I think safety's a thing which is crucial. I mean, it's always crucial, but I think there's a point where it does get a bit out of hand.
Well, just safety by itself.
Health and safety. I think there's a bit where it's good, and there's some bits which are just
too much.
A bit excessive, yeah. It's like working at height. It's ridiculous now. We can't climb more step ladder. If we have a 6-foot step ladder, we can only climb like 3 steps up it. Even though there's even more steps, you're only allowed to climb to like the middle step out of them, and then you can't climb any higher. And it's because on a ladder you're supposed to have 3 points of contact, 2 feet and 1 hand. Well, I mean, I could just make the excuse I could rest my chin on one of the ladder prongs and just go, I've got 3 points of contact, and bring me big SDS drill.
Oh, okay.
It's ridiculous. And it's like, another thing, like, when we're working, if we're working, like, fitting a bell box, we're supposed to use scaffolding.
Are we?
Yeah.
I thought we could just use, long ladders.
Well, that's what we do use, but realistically, at that height, we're supposed to use scaffolding, and that's why you look at ADT, and they fit bell boxes to the height of a step ladder. Or if you look at some other company like Verishites, for instance.
Why do you need to bring them up?
They don't even fit a bell box, but the thing is,
I didn't think they did.
They don't even, they don't carry ladders, they carry a hop-up. They literally have a little hop-up, and that's all they carry.
And do they ever use it?
It's because that's all they're allowed to carry, because health and safety is just ridiculous. I think Verisure would be a much better company if they didn't install and didn't make kit, and they were just a monitoring center. If they were a monitoring center that we could connect something like a dual com to, I think they would be a better company. because realistically, they do a decent job as a monitoring centre.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
It's a bit.
But they obviously wanted to make bad equipment on purpose.
Well, I think it's just they can produce it cheap and sell it at an extortionate price. But
Like
you
ADT.
don't. Yeah,
The only
but the thing
difference,
is,
ADT equipment isn't really cheap
Yeah,
at all.
the good thing is ADT equipment will work on its own. ADT, they work on a very monitoring based approach. You pay for monitoring, and that's why they don't on hoses. The bell boxes are fake. Like ADT bell boxes on
They're
hoses,
dummies, aren't they?
the dummies with a little solar flasher module in, because they
Oh,
rely on monitoring. And this is the thing in hoses, they fit Visonic. They fit Visonic systems, or Visonic. I found that Visonic are now owned by Johnson Controls, and
and so is ADT.
yes, and they're now going under the name Qualsys, I think.
What was that?
They're going under the name Qualsys, but yeah. Oops. It's a bit of a. It's just a bit. I'd say when it comes to Visonic, I don't really like them. I think their equipment isn't that good, and I don't agree with wireless systems much. I think wireless is
wireless
not
better, really.
Wireless is not the way to go. It's not as secure. I mean, yeah, we look at Orisec and Texicom and stuff like that. They've got mesh networks, and Ajax is a new one which has kind of come around in the past few years. I think Ajax is a good brand, but I don't think I would personally use it more for security. I think I would use it more for the lighting control side of it. Because Ajax has got quite a lot of integration with it. You can control lighting and stuff with it. You can use Ajax equipment for a lot, and especially with the new multi-transmitter, I think that's where Ajax to me has really shined, because the multi-transmitter can do the Joula wireless system, but can also run the new Fibra system, which is the wired alternative. And it doesn't work like a normal system. It's not like it's zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and it's just you can only connect a couple devices. It reminds me more of, I mean, I'm talking of a system that's over 35 years old now, the ADE Charisma ID system. The ADE Charisma ID used ID biscuits on the zones, but the zones were more... they were more like it was like an addressable intruder alarm. So you would have ID biscuits for the alarms, and that would be what you would get. So you would have packs of ID biscuits, numbers 1 to 10, 11 to 20, and then so on and so forth. So I think when it comes to that system, it gave a little more smart functionality, and that's what Ajax has done with Fibra. You can zone the devices differently, because you can wire them on a branch, so they work with RS485 instead of using something like a normally open or normally closed contact, and they just use a data bus. So you can wire your keypad, some PIRs, and a bell box all onto the same string, really.
What is it now?
And that's kind of a good alternative to the system, I think. So
fancy watching another video that's obviously raised the awareness that I have to this day. Never mind, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Well, if I watch the video anyway, I can just pick up from it again. This will work.
Anybody ready for this? Oh my God, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time watching me, hello, my name is Jasmine.
At the same time,
This is my channel, Hey Angel, where I make One Direction videos, updates, reaction, entertainment videos, anything related to the 1D boys, it's all here. But I also have a main channel called Jasmine Zaid. If you want to go check out my vlogs and other stuff, it's always linked in the description. So the video that I'm going to be filming today is a video that has been highly requested by a lot of you for months and months and months.
This is obviously the source of everything behind all this.
About how the boys were treated by their management. A lot of people have been commenting, asking me to make a full-length video talking about the mistreatment and the truth about what happened while those boys were in One Direction. I held off on filming this video for a really long time because I was scared to. I was afraid that I was.
Well, you shouldn't be scared. I'm not afraid to expose it even further.
And it wouldn't be good enough.
So I think by now everyone's
finally
got the attention.
And I decided that I do want to do it. So I spent lots and lots of time gathering up enough research and information that I could put together.
This has all the research you could start off with. It's best start
this video is to get across that yes, One Direction seemed to be a boy band that had it all, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't even aware of. And it is something that needs to be brought to light and that people should know about them because they went through a lot. The point of this video isn't to completely just like trash One Direction as a band and drag them through the mud and make it seem like everything was so miserable. There's a lot of
I'll leave you with this for now.
That happened in that band, but they all also have talked about the good side of it too. So don't watch this video and think that One Direction was just completely 100% awful. The toxicity was a part of it, but yes, they also had good times too. I'm just bringing awareness to the dark side of it, hence the title of this video. Another little disclaimer I want to make is that this video has nothing to do with Larry Stylinson. I know there's a lot of things that happen in One Direction that people relate to Larry, and a lot of people don't like their management because of Larry and things they've done to Larry and stuff like that. Which, yes, that's a valid point to make, but I'm trying to make this video about One Direction, not about Larry. All of my sources and places that I got quotes and information from will be linked in the description if you want to go and check them out for yourselves. If you want to read these articles and see where these quotes and such came from, I will definitely have my sources linked down below so you guys can go check them out for yourselves.
Sorry about that.
So with all of that being said, we can get started with this monster of a video. Here we have the dark side of One Direction.
What did I miss? Well, it doesn't matter. I can watch it back anyway.
Be somewhat organized and break everything that I want to talk about down into sections and then subsections so that we can kind of explore everything together without getting confused and all jumbled up. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to things that were wrong with One Direction is how heavily branded and marketed they were by their management and their team.
We're talking as early as 2011 here. You know, first years.
One Direction was branded and marketed a very specific way in many different aspects to appeal to a young audience of teenage girls. Basically, what I mean is how they looked,
designated for that, was it?
Completely decided by their management and their team and everyone in charge in order to make them likable and appeal to a certain specific audience. Like I said, in this case, it was teenage girls. I filmed a video before when I was talking about unpopular One Direction opinions, and in that video I mentioned that One Direction was not a band, they were a brand. And that is my favorite saying to use whenever I'm talking about One Direction and their mistreatment.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Brand, not band thing. Because they were so heavily branded that it really took a toll on them. And you'll see what I mean when I get into these subsections in a second. But there's just such a distinction between the band and the brand. Like, who are they really and who are they being made to be so that they can sell records? It's not uncommon for celebrities and artists to be branded a specific way in the music industry to make them seem more appealing to a target audience. I'm going to use Kesha as an example. When Kesha was first put into the spotlight, she was told by her management to behave like this crazy party girl who just wanted to get drunk and have sex in order to sell her music. But later, when she was not with her record label anymore, she revealed that that was not her at all. And she made music that was more authentic to who she is. And now you see that she's a completely different person because she's being herself. She has said before that that persona was just completely not her. It was something that was made and created for her. So it wasn't like she was being herself. It was this brand that she was given. And it's the exact same way for the boys of One Direction. First and foremost, I think the lightest part about being branded is the fact that they were being told how to dress constantly. I think this is most prominent in the Up All Night era, obviously, because Harry was famous for wearing like blazers. And then Liam would wear like the plaid. and Zayn would have the
Just
varsity
remember
jacket,
this.
Niall would
This
have
is going to
the
get
polo, and then Louis
quite
obviously had
brutal.
stripes. This was their style. They had very specific set styles in this
I
time.
just forgot
Not
how
even just
brutal
on
this video
stage,
is
but
meant
if
to
you look at
be.
any of their photo shoots, live performances, they were all styled and dressed
You'll
according
see
to
in a
their
minute.
particular like brand or
Here,
set style
Rafa.
that they had. That isn't something to really blink too much at. It's not really that big of a deal that they were being told how to dress, because I mean they were really young at the time and they were new to the spotlight, so of course they had to have some kind of guidance,
Too young, you could
some
say.
kind of style. They couldn't just go out there wearing whatever they want and look ununiform, really.
Hang on a
So I
second.
guess it does make
Let's
sense.
just hold back. Yeah, we're talking too young, as early as, well, 16 to, I think it was 18 by 2010. Obviously it increases in 2011, but still.
That they were dressing a certain way, but I just decided to mention it because it goes along with what I'm going to be talking about how they were separated and branded a certain way as individual people. There's an article that I'm going to have linked down below where Liam talks all about how they were made to dress a specific way and how he couldn't even wear stripes. Like, he was not allowed to wear stripes because it was Louis' thing. That's when I start having a problem. Like, you see these boys and it's like, okay, they're being told how to dress when they're on stage, when they're doing a photo shoot, whatever. But it got to a point where they were just not allowed to dress a certain way anywhere, like out in public, in pictures, or anything, because that was the other boy's brand. Like, Liam talked about how he could not be seen wearing stripes because that was Louis' brand and Louis' thing, and it belonged to him. Another thing that goes along with being branded a specific way, or just having not really being branded a specific way, I'll get more into the branding stuff in a minute, but right now I'm just talking about appearance restrictions. They were told throughout their whole career how they had to have their hair. They could not like pick. Harry opened up in an interview quite recently, like a few months ago. He opened up in an interview about how
over the years
he
at
was
some
made
point.
to wear those like tight curls that he used to have in his hair back in like 2010, 2011, 2012-ish. He had his hair curly like that because his team made him have
James,
his
I
hair
don't know if
curly
you've
like that.
seen the chat,
Even though he
but
didn't like it, he said in the interview that he didn't even like having
who's
his hair
Jimmy
super
Crops
curly like that.
89?
Oh, God. Yeah.
What? Yeah, who is that?
Is that someone you know?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Well, no one's watching the live stream at the moment, so don't worry about it for now.
What's private chat?
Oh.
Is that for us to chat to each other?
Yeah, I think I don't really need it that much normally. If I'm honest, I don't need it that much. So it doesn't often get used. I think that's something that B-Face Computing did, really, for the private chat. Why is it being used all of a sudden? Oh.
Me.
Oh.
I'm just explaining a little bit.
He probably doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
maybe.
right.
Okay, now I see the convenience of the private chat.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I did tons and tons of digging on this interview and I could not find it. So I deeply apologize for that. I really, really tried to find it, but I promise you it happened. I sat there and listened to the interview myself. If you know what I'm talking about and you find a link,
Yeah,
comment down below
I
with the link and
believe,
let me
yeah.
know, because I
But
dug
even
everywhere
still.
and I could not find this interview where Harry was talking about his hair. But he did do an interview recently where he talked about not being able to have his hair uncurly. Zayn also opened up about appearance restrictions when they were in One Direction. He talked about how he wasn't allowed to pick his own hair color. The Zayn we know now has had many different hair colors, but back in One Direction he didn't,
Yeah, I
because
get
they
it.
wouldn't let him. He wanted to dye his hair and he couldn't because they wouldn't let him. The only thing they let him do was have the blonde stripe in his hair. That was fine. But other than that, they wouldn't let him have his own hair color, and they even wouldn't let him grow a beard in the beginning. Zayn did not want to be
I got
clean
over
shaven.
that
He
one
wanted to have
eventually,
his face
but still.
like with a beard on it or like with stubble on it, and his management would not let him. Straight up told him that that goes against their image and that they don't want to look older. They want to keep them how they look now, and he wasn't allowed to grow facial hair.
Go back to how they
Zayn
looked in
said, and I quote,
2011, they
"It was
said.
mainly my beard, honestly. I wasn't allowed to keep it," he said. "Eventually, when I got older, I rebelled against it and decided to keep it anyway. That was just because I looked older than the rest of them. That's one of the things that is now quite cool. I get to keep my beard. I also wanted to dye my own hair when I was in the band, but I wasn't allowed to." That's a direct quote from Zayn himself about how his management would not let him dye his hair and would not let him grow a beard. So those are just some of the appearance restrictions that the boys had. There's plenty of interviews where they talked about how
Yeah,
they
we
were
won't watch the whole
meant to
video,
have their
just
hair a certain
half of
way,
it.
couldn't
Don't
do
worry.
certain things, had to dress very specifically, couldn't wear specific
Well, then
things.
again, we'll probably take
But
breaks
it's
in
not
between.
just about the appearance. The
I mean,
branding thing also
I'll
applies to
probably
their
only be here for like
personalities,
another
roles
15
and how
minutes
they
because
behave and how they
Yeah,
proceed.
that's all right.
So basically, right from the start, when One Direction signed with Simon, they were assigned these roles or aesthetics or whatever you want to call it in the band. I think
probably
the
won't
most
be on
obvious
for much
one was
longer
them
either, to be
branding
fair.
Harry as the flirt,
Well, let's just.
womanizer. Even before the boys got out of the X Factor house, producers and Simon were already trying to brand him as
Wait,
the
that
flirt.
just
Like,
reminded
there's
me of something
segments
else.
on the X Factor where they make Harry like play a segment
Hmm.
where he's like trying to go on a date with multiple girls.
I don't believe this. And there's
Well, yeah, I think when it comes to that, it's not just One Direction. It's the X Factor themselves that's sort of kind of messed up as well.
yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to all these shows, they as I mentioned earlier,
I think we've seen enough of this actually for now.
yeah, I mean, they get these small starting out stars and they get them into the light, but then they force them to do things which is out their image, and I think that's the problem with these big things. And this is why I agree so much with people that have an idea and they go out and do it, but they do it in their own way, and they don't go to somewhere like X Factor or Britain's Got Talent or stuff like that, and they instead they just go by their own thing.
I'm trying to think of another video, but I can't remember what it was called. But whatever the case is, that video really showed everything about the X Factor themselves. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't even someone that became famous in the end. I mean, I'd say that other X Factor auditions, let's say rejected components, have been also faked as well.
Yeah,
because there was something I watched a couple of years ago about some woman that was ordered to behave in a certain way during that audition, and there were other things that were completely fake that she said didn't even happen at all.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So, the X Factor doesn't just ruin the lives of celebrities, but also people that would have been pending as well. I mean, trust me, after that video, I just wanted Simon Cowell to be sentenced to death, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, that was a couple of years ago. Obviously, I've seen the signs.
It's a shame, really. It is a shame.
Well, I think you get it, though.
Yeah, 100%. I get the idea.
I mean, you know how it is, like, on that day of the 16th of October 2024, I had, well, if anything, at the same time, I had, I've been talking to someone on Instagram. I sent the message and then left Instagram straight away, moved over to Facebook, and that's when I discovered his death.
Yeah.
I kind of paused for a second, and then I just, went back to Instagram straight away. Because let's just put it this way. Yes, his death was shocking, but it didn't actually surprise me in the absolute slightest, to be honest. It was shocking, but it's like I saw it coming.
Yeah, I mean...
And what I knew about everything else in the past, I could sense it. I mean, obviously, a couple of days later, there was this post. There were signs that this was going to happen, but no one acknowledged it. But I did. I did acknowledge it. And that's why I wasn't surprised about his death.
Mm.
It's also even weirder because, I've known about him since 2017. And he was the first guy I laid eyes on. So how can I not be affected by it? I don't know. I think it's because I've learned a hell of a lot more afterwards. But I guess maybe don't give all your time for celebrities that you might, never meet or never get to know, because frankly, they can't even see their real friends or anything.
No.
You know how it is, right?
100%. it's quite. I think being a celebrity, it's not. I mean, I think us people on YouTube. I mean, I stopped doing YouTube just because I think it's really, it's not worth it. I mean, I'm in the. I think back when I was probably about like 10, going onwards of younger than that. I think YouTube was a good thing for me because it was kind of like. I think it was. I think it had its ups and it had its downs, but I think it was just a place where you could just express yourself. I think, but
yeah, just put your own videos that someone else might not have put up. Really,
it's one of those. I'm now in the professional field now, and I think I'm more. I see no point in YouTube anymore. I think it's not a place for professionals, really. I think, I get
it.
I
don't know. Maybe in some cases it might be.
Professionals can post stuff, but I think, I think there's been a couple instances where I've seen people that have posted stuff in this stuff that I've liked, and I mean, before I quit YouTube, I did give some I put a community post up saying, "Hey, it's been a good time, but I've got bigger and better."
Had I been subscribed to you prior to 2024?
You've been subscribed to me since probably since about 2020, 2021.
Okay. Well, hang on. You commented on that trailer video in 2021, didn't you?
Yeah, probably
I
did.
Recently discovered it was actually you. I don't know. What did you know about him at the time?
Oh well, I think at that time,
as you know, it was.
I think at that time, I think I used to watch his videos just.
And again, what was your actual opinion at that very moment of him?
Oh, of Ben.
Mixed or, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he was just. I think at that time he wasn't. I didn't think too bad of him. I knew some bits that he was a bit not a great guy, but at that time he wasn't doing all that too much extreme stuff. I mean, at the time when I started watching him, he was just doing lift videos and.
Well, yeah, that's the version we know, really, and
occasionally would show him surfing a lift, but. I think he just started doing more and more crazy things, like going around abandoned sites and driving cranes and stuff like that. And it was
that is a bit bonkers.
At that time, I was just like, that's it's over the top.
Well, I think at one point I just failed or purposely dismissed the circumstance he was in.
Yeah.
I just didn't care, really. It wasn't really my problem, anyway.
No.
I don't know, maybe this should be for a separate live stream. It's just one thing I don't understand. How am I not like him?
I mean, because you're a little more sensible and you're actually got some knowledge of what's...
I get it, but he's got utter knowledge as well, in other things. So
yeah, well, it just uses it the wrong way.
At least in the old videos that were good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, how am I... When it comes to using it in the wrong way, I picture phone systems. How is that not?
That's fine. I mean, I do it too. I mean, I take.
But you only do it because you've got protection from your company and stuff.
Well, no, I'd walk into a random shop and I picture all the security gates. Sometimes I've literally seen through the window. I mean, say for instance in the Greenway Shopping Centre.
Where's that?
That's a shopping centre in Ashton, and it's. I remember I walked in there and I was just like, that looks interesting. That light switch has got a red back box. I walked up closer and it was just written on with Sharpie, fire alarm, do not switch or something like that. And pretty much it was a light switch as a call point.
Oh.
And I pictured it and it was like some guy who was from one of the shops followed me around and was like, proper he was following me around the shopping centre as I was picturing some other stuff, like just keeping a distance. And as I was leaving the shopping centre, he was just stood at the door for a good 15 minutes. as I was like just riding around Ashton, he was watching me, and it was just like, what the hell's your problem?
Well, he didn't confront you, though.
No.
I mean, I recall I got a nasty look after picturing a KSC sounder in the welcome breaking keel.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some very interesting looks. I mean, I think the more interesting looks I've got was at Manchester Airport when I was photographing some of the stuff there, especially in the area of like security.
How do you get into Manchester Airport?
Well, we flew to Paris like the other day. So
well, I mean, other than getting a flight.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can really, because it's kind of obviously it's a high security area. For me, I think Manchester Airport's fire alarm system, it's got some interesting bits. I mean, there's a KAC World Series branded Protec running on the 6000 protocol, which is not very common.
A World Series?
Yeah.
6,000?
A World Series on 6,000, not 5,000.
That's very common, isn't it?
No.
Have you never been to an Asda before? Just one?
All the Asdas I've been to have had the new style 6000s, but branded with the little new slide front sticker on them.
They've been in place for quite some time, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to systems like fire alarm systems, there's been improvements over the years, and there's been much more standardization over the years as well. I mean, standardization wise, it's definitely systems have had their upgrades over the years. I mean, if we look at,
I thought that still was too excessive. That's why it's going to be eliminated from targets now.
If you look at some more interesting examples of older devices, I've got one here which is kindly given to me by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Look at old detectors like this. And
yeah, did you know they were as old as 1988?
Yeah, this one is 1988. This one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's got the date of 1988 on this one. But I mean, if you look at brands like, say for instance, a popular one back in the day for notification appliances, Carter's.
Can't see any. Oh yeah, of course.
Carter's. This is a Maxitron. Now these are from I believe this one's from roughly the 70s, and nowadays this would not be compliant one bit, because the wire to the speaker literally comes out the bottom and it's literally just exposed.
You can cut it easily.
Yeah, like it's no protection. You can just see it.
Why is it that fire alarm systems require to be wired in FP200, but burglar alarm systems do not?
Because fire alarm systems are life safety.
Well, yeah, but burglar alarm systems would be more likely to be tampered with. Right?
Well, burglar alarm systems, though, I mean, it's in the name. Alarm.
Then again, now that I think about it, I think some panels require normally closed call points and stuff.
If you look at,
if you do cut the wire.
If you look at intruder alarms inside a detector, you will always find 3 sets of terminals. So you've got 3 sets of 2 terminals. So inside this detector, we've got a little spring there. So you've got positive, negative, normally closed, normally closed common, and normally closed. And then you've got the 2 tamper terminals, which are normally closed. And that's how intruder alarm systems work, is they rely on the circuit being broken. So if somebody does cut the wire, it will immediately activate.
Yeah, that is a good idea then. That does work.
I mean, it's been a thing since, I think the earliest I've seen tamper switches is a 1960s AFA Minerva system.
Okay.
But we look at some stuff like Protec 6000.
Yeah.
This is where addressable starts coming in. Addressable's the way to go. Compared to conventional, it's got so many different advantages. It's just an all-round. It's the way to go, really. It's an all-rounder. Well, I think when it comes to different, the different designs of stuff, we've seen over the years companies have started coming out with even crazier designs. And I mean,
a bit too crazy.
Well, I mean, say for instance, let's look at Gent, for instance. They used to be, in the days of 34,000 and 3400, they were open protocol. Anybody could fit Gent. But now, Gent has now Honeywell took over. They were like, this equipment is so technologically advanced, we're going to make it so only approved engineers can fit it. And I think that's the worst decision they made, because if Gent was open protocol, I think most of the market right now would be fitting Gent. And I think it's not like Gent is bad kit either. It's good. I mean, Gent is some of the most top of the line kit. I mean, for me, I fit.
Still thinks it's a little boring, almost as boring as Zyton.
I mean,
Zyton,
Zyton's got its place. It's again, Zyton, good kit. It's just it has its own place really, and that's the thing about these systems. I mean, for me, I use the CTEC systems quite a lot because it's open.
Somebody commented on that video up on the Anonymous channel.
It's open protocol.
Oh, it's not.
It's simple to use and simple to set up, and the quality's there. So, yeah. But I think for me, I think the main thing to pull away from this live stream in general is safety. I think it's the main thing you can
say that, yeah.
You can pull away from it.
That's probably the best thing.
I think the main thing I think that we've kind of gone on about here is the safety aspect of everything. I think safety's got its place, and
it's just the only reason some people don't follow it because they know most of the time it is too excessive.
I mean,
they don't follow any of it at all.
Yeah, I think we look at this live stream, and I mean, I think a lot of this, it's not all about.
Obviously, Benner was easily twisted by that. That's why it's any form of health and safety.
Yeah,
one moment it's too excessive, and now he refuses to follow any of it at all.
I think when it comes to, I think this.
You can't say it's his fault entirely, really.
No, I think if we look at this live stream, what I think, in general, I don't think this live stream is more about fame. I mean, we have talked about it, but I think.
Well, the safety of,
I think as well into that. I think I think this is a bit like a multi criteria kind of thing that we've done here.
I guess that's where the variety comes in.
We've managed to cover a couple topics and merge them all together.
Yeah, I guess that's how it works, really.
And we look at call points over the years. I mean, call points. This is an SMS Sentry call point, and I mean, you look at that, and that's a really interesting design. It's got simple arrows to press, and that's the only compliant type of glass now inside these is them two arrows and the dot. This older clear style with, let me try and get my background not to cover it.
Some people tend to replace those glasses with white ones.
Yep, that's what we do. So pretty much to make the system compliant, that's what we do.
Still think it's a bit wrong. looks a bit boring.
It may be wrong and boring, but it's the way to go, really, because it avoids confusion, because you don't need any language to know.
Yeah,
and I
well, some
mean,
of us are already familiar with, precisely that. But I guess where the white glasses come in, it is suitable for worldwide markets.
Yeah, and that's why I think standardized tones as well on alarm. I mean, back in the day, if you look at a system from like the 80s, God, you might have loads of different sounds on that one. You might have a couple like old sounders, bells, buzzers, everything under the sun on those. But you look at a modern system, and all the tones are harmonized together in one tone, and that's the way to go.
Do you think I should reveal my, let's say, anonymous channel at this point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because, but then again, this is one reason. The reason why that channel is called my anonymous channel is for the same reason. I don't want to become I don't want to become a celebrity under any circumstance, not even under that. But let's just say that other channel I have is for other things that do not relate to anything on this channel. It's for, let's say, the weirdest of edited videos and stuff.
Ah, okay. Well,
the thing is, though, there is at least one video in particular on that channel that is really famous, under that community, basically.
Well, I think I'm going to be heading off this in a moment, so if you want to, maybe start, I don't know, how long do you want to continue this on for?
Well, as long as I can, really.
Okay. Well,
so you can leave any time you want, really.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've made my entrance. I mean, I guess I've made my points, but I'm gonna have to head off. But yeah, if you want to,
I'm gonna go as well. Actually,
are you sure?
All right. Yeah. I don't really have much to say. So,
well, you've done something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so for those who don't know me that well, I mean, I'm quite.
You don't have to review yourself if you want to.
If you want to find some of whatever videos I've got existing, I've got some videos on security fog on my channel. It's obviously JP Fire and Security Systems Limited, but you can also find the channel. The tag is at JP-Alarms. And so that's kind of, if you want to see more about my stuff. And at some point, maybe I might return a little bit to YouTube, and I might do some lives, just a couple one-off lives, but I don't think I'm going to be posting more videos in the future. But so if that's all for now from me. So I'm going to hand you all back over to Matt, and as I always say, obviously, safety is number one priority. Keep yourself safe, but also make sure that you have a good time as well. So, yeah, on that note, I'm going to head off now.
Me too.
So, see you, everybody.
Well, thanks for being on here.
No worries. See you in a bit.
You too as well. See you later. Yeah, I like normal lighting to freeze when I'm left alone in here. Maybe I'll continue this in future stream. And if I can get anyone else on it. Yeah, maybe I should talk about Benno next one. Not that it's entirely negative, because I haven't got anything bad to say about it. Hang on a second. I wonder if I can find that video. Ah, here it is. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to watch this.
6 seconds are enough to tell you that
Yeah,
the
more.
Oreo original now has even more cocoa. The tastiest Oreo ever made.
And welcome back to this US Open office plan.
Miller just laughed way over Jones's head using some technical.
When Zoe Alexander received 4 no's from the X Factor judges, her entire life fell apart over a 10-year period, and the whole thing was documented on camera from 100 different angles.
How do I know that that's not even real?
Right here, in which Zoe first reached out to the X Factor requesting to appear on the show, explaining that she was a 22-year-old Pink impersonator but wanted to audition as herself. After being accepted as a
Here we go
contestant,
again.
Zoe was asked to send through 5 songs she wanted to sing, yet the X Factor then specifically demanded that Zoe audition as Pink.
They wanted me to sing a Pink song. He basically said that if I didn't, I wouldn't be on the show, so I agreed.
After agreeing to do so, Zoe was invited in for an interview where they continued to ask her about Pink.
All he wanted to talk about was Pink. Have you seen Pink live? Do you know Pink's real name?
Who cares
Do you
whether-
think you're like Pink in real life?
With Zoe adding that they had no interest in her personally, showing that the X Factor had an ulterior motive to create a story out of her being Pink.
Yeah, this is what I
Before
was
heading
talking
out on
about
stage, one of the
earlier.
X Factor producers then encouraged
This
Zoe
is
to
the video that
give a
made me
emotional
want
performance.
Simon Cowell to be sentenced to death,
Sure, you use all of the stage. If the judges say no,
because
beg,
I'd already seen
cry,
too much
get
at this
down on your
point.
knees and beg.
So when she'd appear in front of the judges just a few minutes later, this is what went down.
I'm going to sing So What by Pink.
Pink, okay.
Off you go. After stating
Because you were
that she was
forced
gonna
to,
choose
that's
So What
why.
by Pink, Zoe gave a boisterous emotional performance using the whole stage with excessive facial expressions. However, the focus on her physical delivery and a few other things which we'll talk about later meant the singing was fairly average, leading the judges to stop her mid-song before stating this.
I honestly think that you need to go away and take the time to find yourself as an artist.
Despite this, the judges were kind enough to give her a second chance.
Should we get a
second
song? Yeah.
I want to give you a
Wonder why.
Yet she was then stopped midway through her second song before the judges once again implied that they didn't think she was good enough.
Because at the moment, it just
They planned that, didn't they?
average sort of singing voice.
But as
Why
the
is
judges
Gary Barlow
explained that
on this?
she wouldn't be going to the next
What's he
round,
got to do it?
Zoe turned the criticism back onto them.
You told me to sing a Pink song.
Oh.
I didn't want to sing a Pink song. You guys told me to sing a Pink song.
Sing a Pink song.
Zoe then proceeded to lose her temper before bringing her dad onto the stage, swearing at the judges and throwing the microphone toward them. After some more
Christ.
chaos then went down backstage.
I do not
Zoe
believe
lashed out
any
at
of
the
this
cameraman
is
at
actually
the end of the
true.
segment.
Wait till the end of the
However,
video.
in terms of negative feedback, this was really only the start. The family was so distraught from the event that they drove home in silence, yet Zoe seemed convinced that they wouldn't include her performance in the final cut of the show.
I still didn't believe that they would show my audition on TV. I mean, how could they show the systematic bullying leading to a breakdown of a woman? It would be too upsetting.
Until about an hour after arriving home, when a Daily Mail reporter who was at the audition called the family to get a statement for an article and to tell Zoe that she was definitely going to appear on television.
They will edit it
Jesus
any way they can
Christ.
to show it on TV because it is TV gold.
With this information, Zoe's mental health began to
I thought it was on ITV, not
I
UK
couldn't sleep
TV
most nights. I
Gold.
stayed up every night. I can't stress to you enough what an emotional wreck I was. I didn't trust anyone, and I just kept breaking down, crying.
Made even worse by the
It was
countless
worse
articles
than
talking
that,
about
trust
the
me.
situation before the episode had even gone live. Then, after 6 weeks of fear, Zoe's phone began to ring.
I got a phone call from the X Factor informing me that they were going to air my audition. I was honestly so terrified. I just said no and put the phone down.
Within hours of the episode going live, the
they
performance
would
was
have done
being
it
called the
anyway.
most shocking audition ever, while other publications such as The Mirror called her X Factor's most shocking contestant ever. As a result of this, Zoe stated, "I was recognized everywhere I went, laughed at, pointed at, threatened. Both myself and my dad have been threatened with violence, to the point that my dad had to physically defend us."
I'd go to the gym and people would watch the video on their phones in front of me and then whisper and laugh.
Despite this, Judge Tulsi Konstastavlos refused to change her attitude on the situation, stating there is always going to be the odd person who throws a massive hissy fit. Thousands of people over the years have auditioned, and this one person couldn't control their temper and threw a fit. But I don't think that's a reason for everyone to go, you've got to think about their emotions. That was one person. Those are her issues, and she chose to bring those issues to the stage. Given she now had no other
wasn't that,
option,
was it?
Zoe began to defend herself by stating that the show deliberately tried to make me out to be this girl with a bad attitude, before she theorized that the X Factor deliberately encouraging her to sing a Pink song was part of a plan to increase ratings through televising a poor performance performance, which would explain why the producers encouraged her to be emotional in the minutes before the audition. Zoe Alexander was set up for a fall, and yes, she couldn't sing, but that isn't the issue under discussion. Setting people up to mockery by deliberately enhancing their self-image beyond their talents is cruelty bordering on human rights infringement. Zoe's volatile nature would have been spotted in one of the earlier auditions, and then stoked up so she would outburst on TV, and thereby encourage a flagging audience to tune in with the expectation of future Jerry Springer moments. Shameful, just shameful, yet others were a little less compassionate. Look, she may have been set up by producers, which isn't fair, but at the end of the day, she can't sing. The judges were just being polite by using the identity thing as an excuse because she did get to sing a second song, which she was also rubbish at. Her violent/physical outburst was wrong, full stop. Yes, it's unfair for producers to mislead her, but her reaction was atrocious and very bratty. Also, her dad shouldn't have brought her back onto the stage either, as this escalated the whole situation. She got to sing 2 songs, whereas most people get to sing 1, and she wasn't good enough, end of. Yet Zoe didn't stop pushing back against what had happened. Approximately 7 months after the audition went live, an article was published by BBC News titled "X Factor Cleared Over Pink Tribute Act Complaints," in which it was explained that Zoe had gone to the government broadcasting agency Ofcom, claiming that the X Factor had ignored her track choices, changed her song list, and dictated her outfit and hairstyle, insisting on her appearing in her pink persona. Yet the agency found that the judges' comments were balanced, and her violent reaction after the audition was unacceptable by any standards, whatever her perceived grievance. Accordingly, Ofcom has not upheld Miss Alexander's complaint, with articles such as this one perpetuating Zoe's nightmare.
People said to me, "Oh, don't worry, it'll blow over. It won't last forever." And it lasted for years and years and years.
Things became even worse when Zoe's performance racked up almost 100 million views in compilations such as these two. However, with comments such as "I don't trust any of these" after hearing Zoe Alexander's story, it seemed there was more that was yet to be discussed. On the 20th of July 2020, Zoe uploaded her own video titled "Zoe Alexander X Factor The Truth," in which she now revealed that the performance itself had been edited and even CGI to make the X Factor look good.
How were they even able to do that?
She stated the judges
I don't
actually
even know when
began
this
the
was,
audition
but
by essentially insulting her.
you know.
He moved on to tell me that I was very overconfident, which wasn't shown on TV.
And after she started singing, the audience went crazy by cheering. However, in the final cut of the show, this had been reversed, so the audience was instead cheering while the judges gave their opinions.
In the broadcast footage, the audience reaction has been completely changed. The audience
They probably just got on with the sound effect, didn't they?
as if she was voicing the opinion of the entire audience. In fact, the audience at that moment sat in silence.
As a person who was in the audience, we were told to keep quiet when the judges say anything, so yeah, you're definitely telling the truth.
Oh,
Zoe went on
God.
to explain that the music they played was also different to what she'd said through.
The track that they played was not the track that I had sent them. It was in a different key and it was a different track.
And when she'd thrown the microphone, she'd done so because they'd turned it off while she was explaining what had happened.
Then I realised that they'd turned the microphone off, and that was when I threw it to the floor. But somehow in the video, I
Makes sense, doesn't it?
I didn't. I threw it to the floor.
Zoe then debunked the segment where she'd seemingly walked off and come back with her dad.
I categorically did not leave the stage and subsequently return hand in hand with my father. Once again, the footage has been completely fabricated. Another example of the X Factor's over-imaginative editing.
Before she added that even the judges' comments had been inserted at a later date.
Also, Nicole did not stand up and say, "No, baby, no." That did not happen. So they were cut in afterwards to produce the footage in their fictitious storyline.
After heading backstage, another scene was filmed in which Zoe begged the cameraman to stop filming. However, this also didn't make the cut.
I was saying, please stop filming me, please stop filming me.
This scene was cut from the broadcast footage and replaced with even more fabricated footage, which better suited their storyline, as it didn't portray me as aggressive. The real footage would have clearly demonstrated the broken and emotional state into which I had been bullied.
And with this information, everybody began to stand up for her. I admit I was one of the many who laughed and thought you were this crazy lady who was just mad that you lost the audition. I'm so sorry.
Well, no,
there's
you should be
so much
glad you
doing
lost
you
it,
like
but
this,
even
with others
still.
informing Zoe that her video had
I'd be glad I never even thought about going on there in the first place.
Account made a 15 million view
Still
video
I'm talking
talking about
about.
what had happened, which when duetted by Zoe gained a further 27 million views, with almost everybody sticking up for Zoe. As a result, Nicole Scherzinger's comment section began to fill with comments regarding Zoe's treatment, and therefore the judge did this.
Can we just talk about the fact that Nicole Scherzinger has blocked me on TikTok?
Despite this, the mainstream media ran with the story, causing the X Factor to backpedal rapidly.
You have made the X Factor turn off their Instagram comments. You have made the X Factor turn off their YouTube comments.
And
Of course I did.
The X Factor changed the title and description of my X Factor audition video.
With a 19 million view audition video having since been removed altogether. On top of this, Zoe's appearance has also been taken out of the mega viral Top 5 Angriest Contestants video, which, when considering Zoe's poor attitude and the show's sketchy editing, feels like a reasonable middle ground between the two parties.
Okay. I think you get it. Oh. I don't think I've seen this one before.
Tonight, facing alive to your votes.
The winner of the X Factor. I don't think anyone will ever pay to hear you sing. The hell was that? Or you just...
Why would I want to be paid to do that anyway?
It was the most popular show on television. Multi-millions
Was
of
it
viewers
then?
tuning in every
I only
Sunday.
heard about it, but I never actually watched it as early as 2010.
Creating some of the stars of today, giving birth to some of the biggest selling songs in history.
Yeah, I
and
get it.
producing some of the most loved voices in the music industry.
What have we done to the world?
Well, come on.
Yeah. But anyway, how did this man, with his trousers round his ruddy chest, take the show from TV juggernaut to world domination to cancellation?
And to death further on.
This is the story of the X Factor. Now sing it.
Actually, I wonder if anyone's actually brought it up.
Come on, move your body. Yes, fucking beautiful. Now let me take you back to the 10th of January 2001. The
That's
internet
it.
was merely a baby. Mobile phones were still a rarity, and Caitlyn Jenner had a pair of bollocks. The British public ordered their chicken chow mein that Saturday night and plotted up with the family. They bunged on ITV to be greeted with a brand new show. That show was Pop Stars.
Never heard of that
All
before.
hooked with fascination as singers from all over the country sang their hearts out in front of Nasty Nigel. Oh, he was a right bellend, wasn't he? But
Wait,
only the very
who's
best
that?
voices survived. Finally, a group of ordinary people were formed in a band with an instant hit single handed to them on a plate. That band was the one and only Hearsay. 20 years later, Hearsay are still touring the world with their multiple hit singles and their platinum albums. Oh, no, wait, sorry. No, they lasted about 5 fucking minutes, didn't they? But it didn't matter. The nation was hooked on the prospect of instant stardom. Reality TV such as Big Brother was already a phenomenon. But this was a different beast. Everybody now wanted to be a singer. Two men saw the hype and potential of this new era. Those men were Simon Fuller and Simon Cowell, both established forces in the music industry. Fuller managing global icons the Spice Girls, and Simon managing Robson and Jerome. Yeah, you know, the fellow who catches fish. Yeah, used to sing, honestly. Anyway, now the pair have known each other for years and together came up with the idea of a show to match the format of Pop Stars, but producing a solo artist.
What were they
met with
actually
Alan
doing?
Boyd of Thames TV, who was intrigued and helped them iron out the finer details. He then pitched it to BBC and ITV, the latter, who signed themselves up immediately. The famous pop idol was born. Like Pop Stars, the show attracted Saturday night audiences straight away. Aspiring singers faced the judges, including Foxy, Chapman and Waterman, along with Simon himself, the toughest and most ruthless judge. A group
Most
of 10 were
brutal.
chosen for the final stages. A bunch of good-looking, attractive, cliche-looking pop stars. And Rick
Sure.
Waller. Yeah, he stood out a bit. But Will Young took home the glory, followed by Michelle McManus the year after. However, even with the success, Simon had reservations. He wanted more control, so he devised the idea for a program mirroring Pop Idol.
Yeah, of course he wanted more control.
Rights and control the decision making.
Too much, really.
Not happy about this, and a bust up followed by a legal battle ensued, but not before the program was commissioned. The 4th of September 2004 gave birth to the global powerhouse that was the X Factor, and Cowell was in the driving seat. Now Simon knew he couldn't just do this alone, so he recruited
Yeah, well,
some
after
fellow
Liam
judges
Payne's
in the
death,
shape of rock music
he'd probably be
manager Darren
taken
Osborne, and
into the
even
back of a
Darren
prison van, hopefully.
Walsh On the back of Pop Idol, the X Factor auditions were packed with thousands of hopeful stars, eager to impress the judges and win that £1 million record contract. The first few episodes show them queuing up in droves.
1 million. It has a price, you know.
And then awaiting their
Price it
fate.
can
It must have been a
obviously
grueling process
cost,
for the
you know.
early judges.
Thinkable.
Thousands of auditions every day, which is why they didn't. Yeah, Simon said, nah, fuck that. The singers actually performed in front of producers and vocal experts in preliminary rounds, having to sometimes get through as many as 5 rounds before meeting the judges. And that is where the very best, and of course the very worst, were found. These were the people given the airtime. Because let's be honest, we didn't want to see average Joes. We want to watch this sort of phenomenal talent. Yes.
What the hell was that?
So an average of 7 million viewers tuned into Simon's new project, slightly trailing behind rival show Strictly Come Dancing. However,
Wait, that was around in
captivated
2004?
by these wannabe pop stars. From the auditions to boot camp to judges' houses to live shows, X Factor was the talk of the town. The first series produced over 25's winner and soulful vocalist Steve Brookstein. Fuck knows what happened to him. Then series 2 discovered Mr. Shane Ward. Yes, bloke in Corrie, I think. But series 3 went on to produce its first real commercial success in Leona Lewis. Like the other signing to Simon's label Psycho, but being the first to actually sell a fucking single.
It's called Psycho for a reason, and you can easily make it out.
With plenty of hit singles, Bleeding Love all over the gaps, Snow Patrol.
Yeah, I know. That cover was horrible. Well, I think it was anyway.
As well as the music industry.
Well, we don't talk about that cover. It's a bit pointless, don't you think?
Was rising higher than Simon's trousers. Bloody hell, state of them. Series 5 averaging 10.5 million viewers who witnessed Alexandra Burke take home the glory. And Series 6 and 7 reaching the pinnacle with a whopping 13 to 14 million viewers. Now these two series produced 2 more winners in Joe McElderry and Matt Cardle. I'll tell you what though, I don't know how Matt Cardle won instead of Wagner. I'll never bloody know that. Anyway, Matt and Joe were megastars.
Well, you know.
Days. But Simon also spotted a hype train around the unsuccessful runner-ups. Ollie Murs had made some waves, JLS had the ladies swooning, and teenage fans were showing signs of Beatlemania, but are soon to be global icons in One Direction. They were ruddy brilliant, weren't they?
Well, they were soon to be tortured. What?
Now during these years, the judges were always...
I've had enough of this. Entirely. I'll just remove that for now. Maybe I should hint something from my anonymous channel. What was that video that I just did? Recently uploaded. Is that it? No. Where did these other ones come from? Hmm. 3 months ago? Hmm. No, it wasn't that one, was it? That was before. I think. Is that how it works? Got it. Well, no one's watching it. I could just react to it right now. So, yeah. What was I doing again? You could say that. Well, I've got a bit of explaining to do here, I think. Maybe. But I think it's about time I took responsibility for this bit. Well, it's time.
Grab a snack, get comfy, and let's hit it.
You see that bit in the very corner right there?
Number
Yeah, just look closely at the very corner right here. Something's been added. Do you know why? Because this is actually a video I did. A video I edited has been put on the Anonymous channel. Anyone in that community would know about it, basically. I'm taking responsibility. I did that video. The channel it's on was created by me. You might notice a similarity in the channel name. But I think the point is the latest thing I put on it is a dedicated video tribute to Liam Payne. What was that comment there? No, I'm not doing that. That simply won't do it at all. Also, on that Anonymous channel, I don't really reply to comments either. But I think I'll just end it right here. Maybe I'll continue in a second stream. Well, I'll see you in the next one then.